Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Nazifah Husna binti Muhammad Tarmizi. My metric number is 058586. So today I would like to present to you our topic for subject fundamental of business, which is chapter 4, decision making. So basically the decision making process is generally defined as choosing alternative. The view is very straightforward. How does that happen? Since the decision making is an essential component and not just a mere decision making act, you do more than just pick burgers or pizza, even though you are easy choosing whether to go for lunch. You should think of different restaurants and how to get there, but certainly you don't waste much time considering lunch decisions. But when you make the decisions, you also go through a process. Many people indirectly or expressly use most all of these moves. This method is important for your personal decisions on which film you will see in context of a business operation, such as decision to use in technologies for customer relations. This method can also be used in many order to explain individual or collective decisions. In order to clarify this step, we can take a better look at the process. So let's take a look at these 8 steps. So now let's take a look at 8 steps of decision making process. First, we have identified problems. The phase of decision making starts with the presence of an issue or, in addition, a difference between an existing situation and a desirable one. Step 2, we have identified decision criteria. The deciding criteria important to tackle the issues must be determined after a manager has defined all the problems. Manager have to decide what make a decision important. Any decision maker has requirement to direct his or her decision, whether specifically stated or not. In general, these requirements are decided by our own goals. Step 3, allocate weight to criteria. If the requirement defined in step 2, the decision maker must weight the thing to assign them the best priority in the decision. An easy solution is to assign a weight of 10 to the most relevant criteria and then to distribute weight to the others. Then 100 or 1000 can be used, or any number you choose as the maximum weight. The idea is to prioritize the condition defined by each one in step 2. Next, step 4, we have develop alternative. The fourth step counts on a decision maker to list possible solutions to the problems. There seems to be no attempt at comparing, just to list all the alternatives. Step 5, analyze alternative. Upon the discovery of the alternative, each decision maker should evaluate them. When could this happen? Each evaluation would take into consideration the criteria in the step 2 and 3. That's why comparisons show every alternative has strengths and disadvantages. Step 6, we have select an alternative. Step 6 is choosing the best alternative from among those considered. After carefully considering all the applicable criteria in the decision and evaluating efficient methods, we clearly pick the alternative providing the highest amount in stage 5. Step 7, implement the alternative. Step 7 deals with the implementation of the decisions. This step includes the distribution of the decision and contribution to the involved parties. Many administrators struggle to get buy-in from the people around them before taking a decision. While engagement is required for effective adoptions, this is the most important step in decision making process. So let's move to the step 8, which is evaluated decision effectiveness. The last step in the process of decision making consists of determining the outcome of decision to see if the dilemma is solved. What if the review reveals that there is still a problem? What went wrong should be determined by the boss. The manager can return answer to questions like this in one of the earlier steps. It might even require redoing whole decision process. That's it. Let's proceed to the next member for the next subtopic. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to whoever who is watching this right now, and yes, including our lecturer too, Pak Cik Nazri. Today I would like to start off my presentation with introducing myself first. My name is Norma Sarah binti Mama Hussein, and I'm the student of Diploma in Banking under the Faculty of Business and Management (FPP). My matrix number is 057712. So looking on the slide I showed, obviously I'm going to continuing my presentation from the previous slide I have been presented by one of my group's members. So our discussion today is under the topic of 4.2, that is manager as decision maker. So based on my studies on this topic, I couldn't deny that everyone have their own right to make decision in an organization, but um, it is stated that it is better if manager is the one who take the opportunities to decide something. So everyone must be wondering like what is decision. So a decision can be defined as the process of selecting one action from several alternatives. Basically, we make decision in order to ensure that our organization or our company or something is working on a smooth progress, or to avoid unexpected problem. And so, yeah, as stated there, in the slide, the manager are well known as decision maker as they make decision based on management function. So basically, there are four main manners in management function. That is number one, planning. Number two is leading. Number three is organizing, and the last one is controlling. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. So we have been I've explained what's the meaning of decision, and now we are going to look what are the elements in making decision. So there are three elements in making decision that managers really need to focus on in order to yield the best value from it. Okay, so the three elements stated there is, the first one is rationality, the second one is bounded, and the last element is intuition. We are going to focus on intuition on the other slide. Okay, so we focus on the definition of rationality. Rationality, it is defined as being rational, that is being agreeable to reason. And in this situation, when making decision, it is crucial for us to think rationally. As for me, I think that the one who master this element can increase the likelihood to achieve the specific goals or targets. Besides, when we make decision based on rationality, we could easily detect the problems appeared, and and when we do so, obviously we could save our organization from bad consequences. We could decrease the probability of constraint to exist. And lastly, as stated there, decisions are made in the best interest of organization. Okay, so it means here that basically organization, they are aiming or targeting to boost the organization's profit, not to their own benefit. So the one who have rationality will probably think to give benefits to other also in a large amount of people, not only focusing on themselves. And I could also say that rationality could also maximize payoff by the final choice. Okay, so moving on to the next element, that the second element, that is bounded in decision making. So under the concept of bounded rationality, managers make decision rationally, but it is bounded by their ability to interpret, to process, and to act of information. So we continue with bounded. As I stated before, three element in making decision. This is the second element, that is bounded, and in this aspect, they are bound on another case of decision making, as well as the first one is, we can look there, that is bounded awareness. So basically bounded awareness is, it is defined as people overlooking, or they only focus on the important information during the decision making process. Okay, so the second one is bounded ethically. So in bounded ethically, it stated that personal ethical preferences may not be same with our actual behavior. The example that I can give is, for example, the hiring manager who view themselves as egalitarian but has totally different body language and eye contact with group of people. Another bounded stated here is bounded willpower. That is, we give. It means that we give too much focus to the present and not enough for the future. For example, someone who doesn't have enough saving after he retire, due to he's not focusing on the future of himself. He only focusing on the present, that he is aiming to gain um, as much money as he can. So other than that, we're looking on bounded self-interest. Bounded self-interest, it means here that attaching a priority to the outcomes of others rather than simply trying to maximize our own payoff. Moving on to the next element, this is the last element, that is intuition. Okay, so other than rationality, other than bounded, intuition also exists in order to help improve decision making. So here, intuition is stated as the ability to understand something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning. And intuitive decision making is defined as someone who make decision based on their previous experience, feelings, and also accumulated judgment. So here, intuitive decision making, it can be considered as accurate, as there are suggestions that decision um, may be better if it is made in the absence of attentive deliberation. So studies have shown that there are five these different aspects of intuition in managers. Okay, as I stated before, in bounded, there are several examples such as bounded awareness, bounded self-interest, same as well as it goes to intuition. It also have different aspect of intuition. So the first one is experience-based decision. In this situation, in experience-based decision, managers are will to make a decision by referring to their previous by referring to their previous experience in life. So it means that maybe they use their um, maybe they use the previous thing that happened in their life as reference to make decision. So the second one is affect initiated decision. Affect initiated decision, in this case, managers making the decision based on their feelings or emotions. So basically, the decision that they make, it is influenced by their emotion on that time. So the third one is cognitive based decision. So the decision made by managers are usually based on their skills, wisdom, or knowledge. Okay, cognitive based decision, it is different from experience, because in experience they only use their experience, but in cognitive based decision they use their skills, they use their original knowledge, wisdom, and so on. So the fourth one is subconscious mental processing. Okay, so in subconscious mental processing, managers use data from subconscious mind to help them making decision. So the last one in intuition, the last aspect in intuition is values, or it is well known as ethic based decision. So it means that the ethical value and their culture are the one that inspired managers to make a better decision. So we can easily define the meaning, okay, as well as um, we can only look at their title. Okay, the title there is ethic based decision, so it is easy for us to define the meaning of it. Okay, moving on to the next slide, that is structured problems and program decision. I could say that both of these points are related, and why? Why is it related? I will explain it later. Let us now focus on structured problems. Okay, mm, structured problems are it is more likely to be known as it is much easier to detect. For example, in an easier word, structured problem is a problem that is straightforward or is familiar. So the problems here, it can be determined and solved by repeating examination and testing on it. So okay, the instances that I could relate from this situation above is as stated there in the slide. The first one, the example is purchasing return from customers. Another example is supplier doing late delivery on important product, a student who wants to drop a subject, and so forth. There are so many examples that we can look forward to. Okay, so this is the relation between structured problems and program decision. Um, when situations are structured, there are some standardized routine for handling problems that may come to light that is well known as program decision. So this is the meaning of program decision. Program decision, it can be defined as a repetitive decision that can be controlled by routine approach. The manager does not have to go to the trouble and expense of following an involved decision process due to the problem is structured. Because of the problem is structured, it means that it is easy to be solved. For example, okay, the example in program decision is um, reordering office supplies and so on. There are so many examples also, as well as the structured problems. Um, okay, so as stated there, program decision, they are easily it is easily handled by established business rules and procedures. Besides, program decisions are made based on identifiable factors, and they do not really require much discussion. So they are basically automated to ensure consistency and also save our time. In this case, whenever decision makers deal with the customers or client, it sometimes can lead to bad consequences. Moving on to the next slide, when managers make decision, there are three things that they really emphasize. The first one is procedures, the second one is policies, and the third one is rules. Okay, managers seems to make decision by falling back on the procedures, policies, and also the rules. So in this case, procedures can be defined as arranged steps that are implemented by decision makers to solve the structured problems. So as I explained before, what is structured problems? It is problem that is can easily detect and so on. So in this case, manager use procedure to solve the problems. As identifying problems can be said as the hardest step. So it's settled as procedures once is identified. Okay, once procedure is identified, so it means that the the identifying problem is solved. Other than that, the other thing that managers really need to focus, they really need to accomplish, they really need to follow is the second one is rule. It is defined as an explicit statement that tells a decision maker what they forbidden to be made, what they really can't do. So rules are usually used as it is simple to follow by, and it is important to ensure consistency. So the third one is policy. Policy is stated as a guideline for making decision, and it creates general parameters for the decision makers. So in this case, policies contain um, scriptic terms that leave elucidate up to the managers. The instances of a policy statement is customers always come first and should always get the satisfaction. Okay, while ambiguity of policies always allow more flexibilities in action, not all employees and customers are present with the policies. Okay, so that's all I can explain for now. I really hope that my presentation is good enough for you guys to understand the topic of manager as decision maker. So I ended it here. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aida Shakira binti Zulkifli, matric number 058658 in Diploma in Banking. Continue with the slide. Unstructured problem. Unstructured problem are the difficulties introduced to an organization when facing unusually situation and their solution are different and sometimes can be unique. In that case, organizations seem to be involved in this kind of problem. Whether to build a new manufacturing facility is considered as the instance of unstructured problem. In addition, non-programmed decisions are stated as one short decision, and it is handled by techniques such as judgment, intuition, and creativity. And also creativity. It is also known as a logical approach to deal with extraordinary, unique, and some unexpected trouble occur. The instance that I could relate is if an office building were to be flooded because sprinkler went off accidentally. CEO with business in this building would have to decide when and how to start operating again. Other than that, they need to decide the manners to deal with employees whose office can completely destroyed. Besides, there are also another thought that manager needs to accomplish, that is analyzing decision alternatives as step in decision-making process. Next, decision-making condition. It is must for manager to go through the several conditions when making a decision such as certainty, risk, and uncertainty. This condition determine the probability and error in decision making. A condition or certainty exists when the decision maker nor is with reasonable certainty which the alternatives are. What conditions are associated with each alternative and the outcome that we might get from that. It can also be defined as the accurate decision manager take as they discover the outcome. Second, risk. The situation involves exposure to danger. In this case, risk exists when the individual has some information regarding the outcome of the decision, but that's not everything when making decision under condition of risk. The manager the manager may find it helpful to use probability. Next, uncertainty exists in decision-making when the probability of the various results are not known, so the manager are unable to assign estimate to any of the alternatives. In addition, we must gather as much information as we can toward the alternative, presuming that risk is a must in decision-making and assign the probability accordingly. Decision-making style. Decision-making is the selective of the procedure to weigh alternatives and find the solution to the trouble. Certain situations will obviously need different approach so that the decision made by managers can be effective. To look at this decision-making style, let us follow the four real estate vice presidents of hard development who have been given the task of finding a solution to have a huge corporate problem. Each of the vice presidents has a very unique style in decision-making that include of first, directive style, which means they make fast decisions and focus on the short run. Second, analytical style. means individuals said to have more tolerance in this style. Third, conceptual style means have good ability to find solution as they focus on long run. And fourth, behavior style means they have least tolerance for ambiguity. Next, the comparison between individual decision making and group decision making. Individual decision making, decision taken by individual, while decision group making, decision taken in group of people. Second, individual decisions are less costly. It costs in time and money. Individual decision making, decision taken in crisis or emergency. Group decision making, decisions are not taken in emergency. Individual decision making based on limited information by manager, while group decision making based on intensive information by members. Individual decision making it introduces one man control, while group decision making they introduce self control. Lastly, individual decision making decision doesn't need to satisfy anybody, while group decision making it need to satisfy each of the members. Decision-making bias and error. Most of the managers have tendency to take decisions based on rule of thumb that make decision-making quick and easy. However, the rule of thumb may not be relevant and may lead to bias and error. Bias is a systematic error that leads to an incorrect estimate of effect or association. Many factors can bias the result of a study such that they cancel out, reduce, or amplify a real effect you are trying to describe. The decision-making bias and error consist of overconfident confirmation, sunk cost, self-serving insight, and selective perception. Overconfident is decision makers believe that they know more than what they actually do. Confirmation is decision makers who seek out information that reaffirm their past judgment. Sunk cost is decision makers forget that current choice can correct their past. Self-serving is decision makers blame their outside factor for the failure. Hindsight is decision makers predict the result of an event. And lastly, selective perception. They create perception based on they take they create perception, take decision based on perception. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Sarjana binti Muhammad Saleh. My number is 058682. As you can see at the slide, the title is Ethic, Corporate Social Responsibility and Decision Making. Okay. The first one is ethic. Ethic is a branch of philosophy that involves systematizing, defending, and recommending concept of right and wrong behavior. Then the corporate social responsibility defined as a self-regulating commercial enterprise management that help enterprise be socially accountable to itself, to its stockholders and the public. Then the last one, the decision making is a process of making decisions that fighting decision and gathering information, the assessing choice of resolution. Continue from the previous slide. The four views of ethics is the first subtopic of the ethic, corporate social responsibility and decision making. As you can see at the slide, there are four views of ethics. The first one is the authoritarian views, the second one is the right views, the third one is the theory of justice views, and the last and fourth one is the integrative social contract theory views. The authoritarian views is greatest good is provided for the best number, encourage activity and productive and is content with the aim of become maximized. The second one is the right views. Is to protect and respect individual liberties. It also seeks and defines the man or woman right of conscience free to speech, assistance, and safety due to process. The third one is the theory of justice views. The theory of justice views is the organizational rules are enforced fully and impartially and follow all legal rules and regulations. Is to protect and pursue of under special stockholder and right of employee. The last one is the integrative social contract or integrative social contract theory views is ethical decisions should be based on the existing ethical norm in the industry and communities. It's based on the integrating the frequent social contact and the precise contact between the neighborhood members. The second in the subtopic of ethics, corporate social responsibility and decision-making is improving ethical behavior. There are two types to improve ethical behavior. Um, there is code of ethics and decision rules. Code of ethics is also known as a code of conduct or statement of value. It's a formal statement of a company value, responsibility, and conduct expectation. The purpose of the code is to guide and acknowledge employees in handling ethics dilemma. Then the second is decision rules. Decision rule is the rules that make that the employee is supposed to follow for the right of them. Such as the company made some kind of strict rules for them to follow for do not cause chaos or something. It also can guide the superior, such as the manager, leader of a project, when they handle the ethical dilemma. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Nur Aisyah binti Muhammad Zabri. My number matric is 0575 and 15. For the corporate social responsibility, um, we define corporate social responsibility as a business obligation beyond that required by the laws and economics to do the right things and act in ways that are good for society. This definition assumes that a business obeys laws and pursues economic interests, but also note that this definition views business as a moral agent that is in its effort to do good for society. A business must differentiate between right and wrong. A great deal act in socially responsible ways. On one side, there is the classical or purely economic view, and on the other side is the socio-economic view. For the classical view holds that management's only responsibility to maximize profits. The most outspoken advocate of this approach is the late economist and Nobel laureate Milton Friedman. For the socio-economic maintains that the management's social responsibility goes beyond making profits to include protecting and improving society welfare. This position is based on the belief that corporations are not independent entities responsible only to stockholders. They also responsibility to the larger society that endorse their creation through various laws and regulations that supports them by purchasing their products and services. The key difference between the two views corporate social responsibility are easier to understand if we think in the term of the holders or owners. We are the only legitimate concern. Those supporting the socio-economic view would respond the manager should be responsible to any group by the organization decision, and action that is the stockholders. Decision making isn't all systematic logic. Good decision makers also have developed through experience and intuitive ability that complements rational analysis. This ability is particularly valuable when decision makers face high level of uncertainty, when facts are limited, when there is little previous precedent, when time is present, or when there are multiple possible alternatives to choose among and there are good arguments for each. If you have an intuitive score greater than 8, you prefer situation when there is a lack of structure and rules. You can handle uncertainty and spontaneity and openness. When this ability is a plus in your job, depends to a great extent on the culture of your organization, where rationally is highly valued, reliance on intuition is likely to be seen as a negative quality. In open and creative type cultures, intuitive ability is more likely to be valued. That's all from us. Thank you.